Hare Krishna.
This service is provided in high definition by free conference. Access code accepted. You are the only. All callers are muted and they can unmute themselves. To start conference recording, this conference is being recorded.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tam Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam परिजना सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद
प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
the transcendental vibration established by the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the sublime method for reviving our transcendental consciousness. As living spiritual souls, we are all originally Krishna conscious entities. But due to our association with matter from time immemorial, our consciousness is now adulterated by the material atmosphere. The material atmosphere in which we are now living is called Maya or illusion. Maya means that which is not. And what is the illusion? The illusion is that we are all trying to be lords of the material nature, while actually we are under the grip of our stringent laws. When a servant artificially tries to imitate the all-powerful master, it is called illusion. We are trying to exploit the resources of material nature, but actually we are becoming more and more entangled in our complexities. Therefore, although we are engaged in a hard struggle to conquer nature, we are ever more dependent on her. The illusory struggle against material nature can be stopped at once by revival of our eternal Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the transcendental process for reviving the original pure consciousness. By chanting this transcendental vibration, we can cleanse away all misgivings within our hearts. The basic principle of such misgivings is the false consciousness that I am the Lord of all I survey. Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition on the mind. This consciousness is the original natural energy of the living entity. In the beginning, there may be not the presence of all transcendental ecstasies, which are 8 in numbers. They are being stopped as through dumb perspiration, standing of all hairs on the body, dislocation of voice, trembling of the body, crying in ecstasy, trance. But there is no doubt that chanting for a while takes one immediately to the spiritual platform, and one shows the first symptoms of this in the urge of dance along with the chanting of the mantra. We have seen this practically. Even a child can take part in this chanting and dancing. The material energy
Hare Krishna. How are you, Charlie? How are you? Good. Hare Krishna, Shraddha Mataji. Pranat Pranam. So we start with Brahma Samhita, right? We start with Brahma Samhita. Okay. Oh, no problems, no problem. I can understand, completely understand. So, let's open the page 1. Should we start? All right. ईश्वरा परमा कृष्णा सच्चिदानन्दविग्रहा अनादिरादिर्गोविन्दः सर्वकारणकारणम् सहस्रपत्रकमलं गोकुलाख्यं महत्पदं तत्कर्णिकारं तद्धामा तदनन्तांशसम्भवम् कर्णिकारं महद्यन्त्रं शतकोनं वज्रकीलकं शदङ्गाशत्पदी स्थानं प्रकृत्या पुरुषेण च प्रेमानन्दा महानन्दा रसेनावस्थितं हि यत् ज्योतिरूपेण मनुना कामबीजेन सङ्गताम् तत्किञ्जल्कं तदंशानां तत्पत्राणि श्रियामपि चतुरश्रं तत्परितः श्वेतद्विपाख्यमद्भुतं चतुरश्रं चतुर्मूर्तेश्चतुर्धामा चतुष्कृतं चतुर्भिः पुरुषार्थश्च चतुर्भिर्हेतुभिर्व्रतम् शूलैर्दशभिरनाथम् ऊर्ध्वादो दिग्विदिक्ष्वपि अष्टभिर्निधिभिर्जुष्टाम् अष्टिभिः सिद्धिभिस्तथा मनोरूपैश्च दशभिर्दिक्पालैः परितो वृतम् श्यामैर्गौरैश्च रक्तैश्च शुक्लैश्च पार्षदार्षभैः शोभितं शक्तिभिस्ताभिरद्भुतात्पि समन्ततः एवं ज्योतिर्मयो देवा सदानन्दा परात्परः आत्मा रामस्य तस्यास्ति प्रकृत्या न समागमतः मायया राममानस्य न वियोगस्तया सह आत्मना रमया रेमे त्यक्त्यकालं शिशिक्षया नियति स रमा देवी तत्प्रिया तद्वशं तदा तालिङ्गं भगवान् शम्भुर्ज्योतिरूपा सनातनः या योनि सपराशक्ति कामो बीजमहद्धरेः लिङ्गयोन्यात्मिका जाता इमा महेश्वरी प्रजाः शक्तिमान् पुरुषः सोऽयं लिङ्गरूपी महेश्वरः तस्मिन् आविर्भूलिङ्गे महाविष्णुर्जगत्पतिः सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषः सहस्राक्षा सहस्रपात् सहस्रबाहुर्विश्वात्मा सहस्रांशा सहस्रसु नारायणः स भगवान् आपस्तस्मात् सनातनात् आविरासीत् कारणार्णो निधिसङ्कर्षणात्मकः योगनिद्रां गतस्तस्मिन् सहस्रांशा स्वयं महान् तद्रोमबिलजालेषु बीजं सङ्कर्षणस्य च हैम्यण्डानि जातानि महाभूतावृतानि तु प्रत्यण्डम् एकंशाद्विशति स्वयं सहस्रमूर्धविश्वात्मा महाविष्णु सनातनः वामनाद् असृजाद् विष्णुं दक्षिणङ्गात् प्रजापतिं ज्योतिर्लिङ्गामया शम्भुं कूर्चदेशादवासृजत् अहङ्कारात्मकं विश्वं तस्माद् एतद्व्यजायत अतातैस्त्रिविधैर्वेषैर्लील उद्वाहताखिला योगनिद्रा भगवती तस्य श्रीरिव सङ्घटा शिशिक्षायं ततो नाभेस्तस्य पद्मं विनिर्णयं तन्नालं हेमनलिनं ब्रह्मणो लोकमद्भुतं तत्त्वानि पूर्वरूढानि कारणानि परस्परं समावया प्रयोगच्च विभिन्नानि पृथक् पृथक् चिच्चक्या सज्जमानोता भगवानादिपुरुषः योजयन्मायया देवो योगनिद्रामकल्पयत् योजयित्वा तु तान्येव प्रविवेश स्वयं गुहं गुहं प्रविष्टे तस्मिंस्तु जीवात्मा प्रतिबुध्यते स नित्यो नित्यसम्बन्धः प्रकृतिश्च परैव सा एवं सर्वात्मसम्बन्धं नाभ्यं पद्मं हरेरभूत् तत्र ब्रह्मा भवद्भूयश्चतुर्वेदी चतुर्मुखः सञ्जातो भगवच्चक्त्या तत्कालं किल चोदितः सिशिक्षायां मतिं चक्रे पूर्वसंस्कारसंस्कृतः ददर्शा केवलं ध्वान्तं नान्यत् किम् अपि सर्वतः उवाचा पुरतस्तस्मत् तस्माद्दिव्या सरस्वती कामकृष्णाय गोविन्दा हे गोपी जन इत्यपि वल्लभाय प्रियावाह्नेर्मन्त्रं ते दास्यति प्रियं तपस्त्वं तप एतेन तव सिद्धिर्भविष्यति अता तेऽपि ससुचिरं प्रीणं गोविन्दमव्ययम् श्वेतद्वीपं पतिं कृष्णं गोलोकस्थं परात्परं प्रकृत्या गुणरूपिण्या रूपिण्या पर्युपासितं सहस्रदलसम्पन्ने कोटिकिञ्जल्कबृंहिते भूमिश्चिन्तामणिस्तत्र कर्णिकारे महासने समासीनां चिदानन्दं ज्योतिरूपा सनातनम् शब्दब्रह्ममयं वेणुं वादयन्तं मुखाम्बुजे विलासिनी गणवृतां स्वैरंशैरभिस्तुतम् अता वेणुनिनादस्य त्रयीमूर्तिर्मयी गतिः स्फुरन्ति प्रविवेशाशु मुखाब्जानि स्वयंभुवः गायत्री गायतस्तस्माद् अधिगत्या सरोजजः संस्कृतश्चादिगुणोना द्विजताम् आगमतां ततः त्रया प्रबुद्धोऽथ विधिर्विज्ञाततत्त्वसागर तुष्टाववेदसारेण श्रोतेनानेन केशवम् चिन्तामणिप्रकरसद्मशुकल्पवृक्षा लक्षाव्रतेषु सुरभिरभिपालयन्तम् लक्ष्मीसहस्रशतसम्भ्रमसेव्यमानम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि वेणुं क्वनन्तमरविन्ददलायताक्षं बर्हावतं स्ममसिताम्बुदसुन्दराङ्गम् कण्डर्पकोटिकमनीयविशेषशोभम् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि आलोलचन्द्रकलसद्वनमाल्यवंशी रत्नाङ्गदं प्रणयकेलिकलाविलासं श्यामं त्रिभङ्गललितं नियतप्रकाशं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अङ्गानि यस्य सकलेन्द्रियवृत्तिमन्ति पश्यन्ति पान्ति कलयन्ति चिरं जगन्ति आनन्दचिन्मयसदुज्ज्वलविग्रहस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि अद्वैतमच्युतमनादिमनन्तरूपम् आद्यं पुराणपुरुषं नवयौवनं च वेदेषु दुर्लभमदुर्लभमात्मभक्तौ गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि पन्तास्तु कोटिशतवत्सरसम्प्रगम्यो वायोरथापि मनसो मुनिपुङ्गवानां स्योऽप्यस्ति यत्प्रपदसीम्यविचिन्त्य तत्त्वे गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि एकोऽप्यसौ रचयितुं जगदण्डकोटिं यच्छक्तिरस्ति जगदण्डच्छयाय दन्तः अंडान्तरस्थपरमाणुक्षयान्तरस्थं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यद्भावभावितधियो मनुजास्तथैव सम्प्राप्य रूपमहिमासनयानभूषः शुक्तैर्यमेव निगमप्रतिशैस्तुवन्ति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। आनन्दचिन्मयरसप्रतिभाविताभिस्ताभिर्ययेव निजरूपतया कलाभिः गोलोक एव निवसत्यखिलात्मभूतो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। प्रेमाञ्जनाचुरितभक्तिविलोचनेन सन्तः सदैव हृदयेषु विलोकयन्ति यं श्यामसुन्दरमचिन्त्य गुणस्वरूपं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। रामादिमूर्तिषु कलानियमेन तिष्ठन् नानावतारमकरोद्भुवनेश किन्तु कृष्णः स्वयं समभवत् परमः पुमान्यो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यस्य प्रभा प्रभवतो जगदण्डकोटिस्वशेषवसुधादिविभूतिभिन्नं तद्ब्रह्मनिष्कलमनन्तमशेषभूतं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। माया हि यस्य जगदण्डशतानि सूते त्रैगुण्यतद्विषयवेदवितायमाना सत्त्वावलम्बि परसत्त्वं विशुद्धसत्त्वं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। आनन्दचिन्मयरसात्मतया मनःसु यः प्राणिनां प्रतिफलं स्मरतामुपेत्य लीलायितेन भुवनानि जयत्यजस्रं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। गोलोकनाम्नि निजदाम्नि तले च तस्य देवी महेशहरिधामसुतेषु तेषु ते ते प्रभावनिचया विहिताश्च येन गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। सृष्टिस्थितिप्रलयसाधनशक्तिरेका छायेव यस्य भुवनानि बिभर्ति दुर्गा इच्छानुरूपमपि यस्य च चेष्टते सा गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। क्षीरं यथा दधिविकारविशेषयोगात् संजायते न हि तथा पृथगस्ति हेतोः यः शम्भुतामपि तथा समुपैति कार्यात् गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। दीपार्चिरेव हि दशान्तरमभ्युपेत्य दीपायते विवृतहेतुसमानधर्मा यस्ताग्र एव हि च विष्णुतया विभाति गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यः कारणार्णवजले भजति स्म योगा निद्रामनन्तजगदण्डसरोमकूपः आधारशक्तिमवलम्ब्य परां स्वमूर्तिं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि। यस्यैकनिश्वसितकालमथावलम्ब्य जीवन्ति लोमविलजा जगदण्डनाथः विष्णुर्महान् स इह यस्य कलाविशेषो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि भास्वान् यथास्मत्सकलेषु निजेषु तेजः स्वीयं कियत् प्रकटयत्यपि तद्वदत्रा ब्रह्माय येष जगदण्डविधानकर्ता गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यत्पादपल्लवयुगं विनिधाय कुम्भा द्वन्द्वे प्रणामसमये स गणाधिराजः विघ्नान् विहन्तुमलमस्य जगत्त्रयस्य गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि पुरेश सवित अग्निर्महि निगगनमम्बुमरुद्दिशश्च कालस्ततात्ममनसीति जगत्त्रयाणि यस्माद्भवन्ति विभवन्ति विशन्ति यं च गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यच्चक्षुरेश सविता सकलग्रहाणां राजा समस्तसुरमूर्तिरशेष तेजः यस्याज्ञया भ्रमति संभृतकालचक्रो गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि धर्मोतपापनिचया श्रुतयस्तपांसि ब्रह्मादिकीटपतगावदयश्च जीवः यद्दत्तमात्रविभवा प्रकटप्रभाव गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यस्त्विन्द्रगोपमथवेन्द्रमहोस्वकर्मा बन्धानुरूपफलभाजनमातनोति कर्माणि निर्दहति किन्तु च भक्तिभाजं गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि यं क्रोधकामसहजप्रणयादिभीति वात्सल्यमोहगुरुगौरवसेव्यभावै सञ्चिन्त्य तस्य सदृशीं तनुमापुरेते गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि श्रियः कान्तः कान्तः परमपुरुषः कल्पतरवो द्रुमा भूमिश्चिन्तामणिगणमयी तोयममृतम् कथागानं नाट्यं गमनमपि वंशी प्रियसखी चिदानन्दं ज्योतिः परमपि तदास्वाद्यमपि च स यत्र क्षीराब्धिः स्रवति सुरभिभ्याश्च सुमहान् निमेषाराध्याख्यो वा व्रजति न हि यत्रापि समयः भजे श्वेतद्वीपं तमहम् इह गोलोकमिति यं विदन्तस्ते सन्तः क्षितिविरालाचारा कतिपये अथो वाचा महाविष्णुर्भगवन्तं प्रजापतिं ब्रह्मन्महत्तत्त्वविज्ञाने प्रजासर्गे च चेन्मतिः पञ्चश्लोकीम् इमां विद्यां वत्स निबोध मे प्रबुद्धे ज्ञानभक्तिभ्याम् आत्मन्यानन्दचिन्मयी उद्येत्यनुत्तमा भक्तिर्भगवत्प्रेमालक्षण मानैस्तत्सदाचारैस्तदभ्यासे निरन्तरं लोदयन् आत्मनात्मानं भक्तिमप्युत्तमं लभेत् यस्य श्रेयस्करं नास्ति यया निवृत्तिमाप्नुयात् यः साधयति मामेव भक्तिं तामेव साधयेत् मामेकं भज विश्ववान् yadrishi shraddha siddhir bhavati tadrishi urvan nirantaram karma lokoyam anuvartate naiva karmana dhyayan mam param bhakti michhati hi vishwasya characharasya bijam pradhanam prakriti pumanscha maya hitam tejamidam bibarshi vide videhi tvam tho jaganti ishvara parama krishna ananda vigraha anadiradir govinda sarva karana karanam iti Sri Brahma Samhita Sampurnam Hari Om. Hare Krishna. Akurat, would you like to come up and give the class today, please? So do I have your permission to continue? Thank you. So actually, I apologize that first we read the translation and then we do the Brahma Samhita, but today we did the Brahma Samhita first. So we'll do the translation of Prabhu. So can we do 5 translations each, or is that 5? Okay, actually we can go 10 because today we are few. Please start with 10, 10 each, because there's so few of us today. No, please, I request you.
Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. The spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in the 2nd verse. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals and a corolla like that of a lotus, sprouted from a part of his infinitary aspect, the whirl of the leaves being the actual abode of Krishna. The whirl of that transcendental lotus is the realm wherein dwells Krishna. It is a hexagonal figure, the abode of the indwelling, predominated and predominating aspect of the Absolute. Like a diamond, the central supporting figure of self-luminous Krishna stands as the transcendental source of all potencies. The holy name, consisting of 18 transcendental letters, is manifested in a hexagonal figure with 6-fold divisions. The whirl of that eternal realm, Gokula, is the hexagonal abode of Krishna. Its petals are the abodes of gopis, who are part and parcel of Krishna, to whom they are most lovingly devoted, and are similar in essence. The petals shine beautifully like so many walls. The extended leaves of that lotus are the garden-like Dhamma, that is, spiritual abode of Sri Radhika, the most beloved of Krishna. The surrounding external plane of Gokula is described in this verse. There is a mysterious quadrangular place named Shvetadvipa surrounding the outskirts of Gokula. Shvetadvipa is divided into 4 parts on all sides. The abode of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are separately located in each of these 4 parts. These 4 divided abodes are enveloped by the 4-fold human requirements such as piety, wealth, passion, and liberation, as also by the 4 Vedas, namely Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, which deal with the mantra and which are the bases of achievements of the 4-fold mundane requirements. 10 tridents are fixed in the 10 directions, including the zenith and nadir. The 8 directions are decorated with the 8 jewels of Mahapadma, Padma, Shankha, Makara, Kachapa, Mukunda, Kunda, and Nila. There are 10 protectors, Dikpalas, of the 10 directions in the form of mantra. The associates of the hues of blue, yellow, red, and white, and the extraordinary potencies bearing the names of Vimala, etc., shine on all sides. The Lord of Gokula is the transcendental supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the superior of all superiors and is busily engaged in the enjoyments of the transcendental realm and has no association with his mundane potency. Krishna never consorts with his illusory energy. Still, her connection is not entirely cut off from the absolute truth. When he intends to create the material world, the amorous pastime in which he engages by consorting with his own spiritual chit potency Rama, by casting his glance at the diluting energy in the shape of sending his time energy, is an auxiliary activity. The secondary process of association with Maya is described. Rama Devi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord, is the regulatrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna creates the mundane world. At creation there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, Swangsha. This halo is divine Shambhu, the masculine symbol or manifested emblem of the Supreme Lord. This halo is the dim twilight reflection of the supreme eternal effulgence. This masculine symbol is the subjective portion of divinity, who functions as progenitor of the mundane world, subject to the supreme regulatrix Niyati. The conceiving potency in regard to mundane creation makes her appearance out of the supreme regulatrix. She is Maya, the limited, non-absolute apara potency, the symbol of mundane feminine productivity. The intercourse of these two brings forth the faculty of perverted cognition, the reflection of the seed of the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord. All offspring of the consort of the great Lord, Maheshwara, of this mundane world, are of the nature of the embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine generative organs. The person embodying the material causal principle, namely, the great Lord of this mundane world, Maheshwara, Shambhu, in the form of the male generating organ, is joined to his female consort, the limited energy, Maya, as the efficient causal principle. The Lord of the world, Mahavishnu, is manifest in him by his subjective portion in the form of his glance.
The Lord of the mundane world, Mahavishnu, possesses thousands of heads, eyes, hands. He is the source of thousands of avatars in his thousands of subjective portions. He is the creator of thousands of individual souls. The name Mahavishnu is spoken of by the name of Narayan in this mundane world. From that eternal person has sprung the vast expanse of water of the spiritual causal ocean. The subjective portion of Sankarshan, who abides in Paravyoma, the above Supreme Purusha with thousands of subjective portions, reposes in the state of divine sleep, Yoga Nidra, in the waters of the spiritual causal ocean. The spiritual seeds of Sankarshan, existing in the pores of skin of Mahavishnu, are born as so many golden sperms. These sperms are covered with 5 great elements. The same Mahavishnu entered into each universe as his own separate subjective portions. The divine portions that entered into each universe are possessed of his majestic extension. That is, they are the eternal universal soul Mahavishnu, possessing thousands of heads. The same Mahavishnu created Vishnu from his left limb, Brahma, the first progenitor of being, from his right limb, and from the space between his 2 eyebrows, Shambhu, the divine masculine manifested halo. The function of Shambhu in relation to Jivas is that this universe, enshrining the mundane egotistic principle, has originated from Shambhu. Thereupon, the same great personal Godhead, assuming the threefold form of Vishnu, Prajapati and Shambhu, entering into the mundane universe, plays the pastimes of preservation, creation, and destruction of this world. This pastime is contained in the mundane world. Hence, it being perverted, the Supreme Lord, identical with Mahavishnu, prefers to consort with the God-goddess Yoga Nidra, the constituent of his own spiritual chit potency, full of the ecstatic trance of eternal bliss, appending to his own divine personality. When Vishnu, lying in the ocean of milk, wills to create this universe, a golden lotus springs from his navel pit. The golden lotus is with its stem is the abode of Brahma, representing Brahmalok or Satyalok. Before their conglomeration, the primary elements in their nation state remained originally separate entities. Non-application of the conglomerating process is the cause of their separate existence. Divine Mahavishnu, primal Godhead, through association with his own spiritual chit potency, moved Maya, and by the application of the conglomerating principle, created those different entities in the state of cooperation. And after that, he himself consorted with Yoga Nidra by the way of his eternal alliance with his spiritual chit potency. By conglomerating all those separate entities, he manifested the innumerable mundane universes and himself entered into the inmost recess of every extended conglomerate, Virat Vigraha. At that time, those jivas who had lain dormant during the cataclysm were awakened.
The same Jiva is eternal and is for eternity, and without a beginning joined to the Supreme Lord by the tie of an eternal kinship. He is transcendental spiritual potency. The divine lotus which springs from the navel pit of Vishnu is in every way related by the spiritual tie with all souls and is the origin of four-faced Brahma versed in the four Vedas. On coming out of the lotus, Brahma, being guided by the divine potency, turned his mind to the act of creation under the impulse of previous impressions, but he could see nothing but darkness in every direction. Then the goddess of learning, Saraswati, the divine consort of the Supreme Lord, said thus to Brahma, who saw nothing but gloom in all directions, O Brahma, this mantra, namely, Klim Krishnaya Govindaya Gopijana Vallabhaya Swaha, will assuredly fulfill your heart's desire. O Brahma, do thou practice spiritual association by means of this mantra, then all your desires will be fulfilled. Brahma, being desirous of satisfying Govinda, practiced the cultural acts for Krishna in Goloka, Lord of Sweta-dweep, for a long time. His meditation ran thus: there exists a divine lotus of 1,000 petals, augmented by millions of filaments, in the transcendental land of Goloka. On its world there exists a great divine throne on which is seated Sri Krishna, the form of eternal effulgence of transcendental bliss, playing on his divine flute, resonant with the divine sound with his lotus mouth. He is worshipped by his amorous milkmaids with their respective subjective portions and extensions, and also by his external energy, who stays outside, embodying all mundane qualities. Then Gayatri, mother of the Vedas, being made manifest, namely imparted by the divine sound of the flute of Sri Krishna, entered into the lotus mouth of Brahma, born from himself through his 8 ear holes. The lotus born, Brahma, having received the Gayatri, sprung from the flute song of Sri Krishna, attained the status of the twice born, having been initiated by the supreme primal preceptor, Godhead himself. Enlightened by the recollection of that Gayatri, embodying the 3 Vedas, Brahma became acquainted with the expanse of the ocean of truth. Then he worshipped Sri Krishna, the essence of all Vedas, with this hymn. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock's feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with moon locket, with whose 2 hands are adorned with the flute, jeweled ornaments, and who always revels in the pastime of love, whose graceful 3-fold bending form of Shyam Sundar is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay. He is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha. Yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by the drilling respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between the potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe, at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra shuktas told by the Vedas, by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confidants, Sakhis, embodiments of the extension of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyam Sundar, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in the heart of their hearts with the eye of devotion, tinged with salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who has manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world, in the forms of Rama, Narsimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portions. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose effulgence is the source of the non-differentiated Brahman mentioned in the Upanishads, being differentiated from the infinity of glories of the mundane universes, appear as the indivisible, infinite, limitless truth.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is the absolute substantive principle, being the ultimate entity in the form of the support of all existence, whose external potency embodies the threefold mundane qualities, namely sattva, rajas, and tamas, and diffuses the Vedic knowledge regarding the mundane world. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose glory ever triumphantly dominates the mundane world by the activity of his own pastimes, being reflected in the mind of recollecting souls as the transcendental entity of ever blissful cognitive rasa. Lowest of all is located Devi Dhama, mundane world. Next above it is Mahesh Dhama, abode of Mahesh. Above Mahesh Dhama is placed Hari Dhama, abode of Hari, and above them all is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who has allotted their respective authorities to the rulers of those graded realms. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, but yet the effect curd is neither same as nor different from its cause, namely milk, so I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. The light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who, assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with the all-accommodating potency and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, yoga nidra. Brahma and other lords of the mundane worlds, appearing from the pores of hair of Mahavishnu, remain alive as long as the duration of one exhalation of the latter, Mahavishnu. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whose subjective personality Mahavishnu is the portion of portion. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion Brahma receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all of the effulgent gems that bear the names of Surya, Kanta, etc. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesh upon the pair of chumuli protruding from his elephant head, in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all the obstacles on the path of progress of the three worlds.
Reading from text number 51, page 94. The three worlds are composed of the 9 elements, namely fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul, and mind. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of universal cataclysm. The sun, who is the king of all the planets, full of infinite effulgence, the image of the good soul, is as the eye of this world. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained and manifested potencies that are found to exist of all virtues, all vices, the Vedas, the penances, and all jivas, from Brahma to the meanest insect. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion, and impartially ordains for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities, of all those who walk in the path of work in accordance with the chain of the previously performed works, no less in the case of the tiny insect that bears the name of Indragopa than in that of Indra, king of the Devas. I adore the primal Lord Govinda, the meditators of whom, by meditating upon him under the sway of wrath, amorous passion, natural friendly love, fear, parental affection, delusion, reverence, and willing service, attain to bodily forms befitting the nature of their contemplation.
I worship that transcendental seat, known as Svetadvipa, where his loving consorts the Lakshmis in their unalloyed spiritual essence practice the amorous service of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, as their only lover, where every tree is a transcendental purpose tree, where the soul is the purpose gem, all water is nectar, every word is a song, every gait is a dance, the flute is a favorite attendant, effulgence is full of transcendental bliss, and the supreme spiritual entities are all enjoyable and tasty, where numberless milk cows always emit transcendental oceans of milk, where there is eternal existence of transcendental time, who is ever present and without past or future, and hence is not subject to the quality of passing away, even for the space of half a moment. That realm is known as Goloka only to a very few self-realized souls in this world. On hearing these hymns containing the essence of the truth, the Supreme Lord Krishna said to Brahma, Brahma, if you experience the inclination to create offspring by being endowed with the real knowledge of the glory of Godhead, listen, my beloved, from me to this science set forth in the following 5 slokas. When the pure spiritual experience is excited by means of cognition and service, bhakti, super excellent, unalloyed devotion characterized by love for Godhead is awakened towards Krishna, the beloved of all souls. The highest devotion is attained by slow degrees, by the method of constant endeavor for self-realization with the help of scriptural evidence, theistic conduct, and perseverance in practice. These preliminary practices of devotion, sadhana bhakti, are conducive to the realization of loving devotion. Loving devotion, than whom there is no superior well-being, who goes hand in hand with the attainment of the exclusive state of supreme bliss, and who can lead to myself. Abandoning all meritorious performances, serve me with faith. The realization will correspond to the nature of one's faith. The people of the world act ceaselessly in pursuance of some ideal. By meditating on me by means of those deeds, one will obtain devotion characterized by love in the shape of the supreme service. Listen, O Vidhi, I am the seed, the fundamental principle of this world of animate and inanimate objects. I am pradana, the substance of matter. I am prakriti, material cause, and I am purusha, efficient cause. This fiery energy that belongs specially to the Brahman, that inheres in you, has also been conferred by me. It is by bearing this fiery energy that you regulate this phenomenal world of animate and inanimate objects.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, we'll have one bhajan, Udila Varana, or should we directly? Okay, we'll have Udila Varana and then we can start the Bhagavatam class. So it'll be there. Page 38. Udilo aruna pura bhage Dvijamani goramani jage Bhakata samuha loya sate Gela nagara braje Tathai tathai bajalakho Ghana ghana tahe janjeraro Preme dhala dhala sonarayanga Charanenu purabhaje Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari Bole na bolo re bodhana bari Miche nidavashe gelore rati Divasha sharira saje He mana durlabha manabha deho Pai ki karo bhavana geho Evena bhajile yashoda suta Charame podi belaje Udita tapana hoile asta Dina gelo boli hoibe vyasta Tabe ke no ebe alashaha Na baja hidaya raje Jivana anitya jana hasha Tahe nana vida vipadava Namashraya kori jatane tumi Takahaya panakaje Jivera kalyana sadhanakam Jagate ashiye madhuranam अविद्यते मेरा तपन रूपे हृद गगन विराजे। कृष्ण नाम सुधा कोरिया पान जुड़ाओ भाकाते विनोद प्राण। नाम विना किचु नहीं कोयारा 14 भुवन मागे। उदिलयारुना पुरब भागे विजमनी गोरा अमनि जागे। भगत सामुहा लोया साथे ये लनागर ब्राजे। जीव जागो गोरा चांद बोले। कोटा निद्रा जाओ माया पिशाची रखोले। बजी बोलिया ऐसे संसार बितारे। हिले तुम्ही अविद्यार भारे। तुम्हारे लोईते यमी होइनु अवतारा। आमी विना बंधु यारा के आचे तुम्हारा। औषधि माया नशिबारो लागी। हरे नाम महामंत्र लाओ तुमी मागी। विनोदा प्रभु चरणे पड़िया। श्री हरि नाम मंत्र लोइलो मागिया। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Mahaprabhu, 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 Jaya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. So, with permission of His Grace Akurunath Prabhu, I would like to start the class. I'm grateful for everybody to join this morning. And the topic of today's class is the art of living in the age of Kali Yuga. But before that, please give me permission to chant few prayers and then we can get the class started. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं त्वं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्ता राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभयश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मत्समो नास्ति पापात्मा न पराधी च कश्चन परिहारेऽपि लज्जा मे किं ब्रुवे पुरुषोत्तम। भूमौ स्खलितपादानां भूमिरेवावलम्बनं त्वयि जातापराधानां त्वामेव शरणं प्रभो। वैराग्यविद्या निजभक्तियोगा शिक्षार्थमेका पुरुषपुराणा श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य शरीरधारी कृपाम्बुधिर्यस्तमहं प्रपद्ये। कालं नष्टं भक्तियोगं निजम्या प्रादुष्कर्तुं कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम आविर्भूत तस्य पदारविन्दे गादं गादं लीयतां चित्तभृङ्गा। Please bear with me for some more time so that I glorify Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarvashastrabdipiyusha sarvavedaikasatphala sarvasiddhantaratnadhya sarvalokaikadrikpada sarvabhagavata prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kalidvando Tayaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Paramananda Pathaya Prema Varsha Aksharayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume Madeka Bando Matsangin Manguro Manmahadhana Mannishtaraka Madbhagya Madananda Namostute Asadhu Sadhutadain Atinichochataraka Hanamumcha Kadachinmam Premna Hritkantayo Spura Tvamadidevam Karunam Nidhanam Tamalavarnam Suhitavataram Apara Samsara Samudra Setum Bhajamahe Bhagavata Swarupam. Hare Krishna. So the art of living in the age, yes, sorry.
These beautiful verses, they are from Krishna Lila Stava?
They are from Krishna Lila Stava, wherein Srila Sanatana Goswami glorifies the Bhagavatam. He glorifies Bhagavatam and he glorifies Jagannath, he glorifies Shaligram Shala. They are specific. So, thank you. Thank you. So, we are living in the age of Kali, yes? And Kali Yuga, as Akranath Prabhu will tell you, is full of squirrels. He has seen firsthand the quarrels people have, even over trifling things. The quarrel is not extended just to two people or two sets of people, but even amongst the family members, as he readily attests to the divorce rates that are there in the US and spreading worldwide. Even not just other parts of the world are not immune to this sad phenomena of divorce. And lawsuits. So this age of Kali is abundant with strife and quarrel, and Bhagavatam gives few indications more about the degradation of this age. So let's start with the fact that when did Kali Yuga begin? And in the first canto, we hear about how Maharaj Yudhishthir, he saw symptoms of this age of Kali Yuga when he observed certain set of omens, bad omens in his country. And he found that, so many omens were there. The people were fighting, they were giving in to greed, the rains were unseasonal, and he found so many different things. Of course, this was partially because he realized that Lord Krishna had disappeared from the planet. He had sent Arjuna to Dwarka to know about the welfare of the Lord, and when he didn't return for a long time and he observed various omens, and he questioned Bhima, why is it that's happening? And the truth was confirmed when Arjuna actually returned to his presence and gave a detailed description about how Lord Krishna disappeared from this world. The reason why I bring this up is because it is said in Bhagavatam that as soon as Lord Krishna disappeared from the world, the Kali started extending its influence. And the Kali started, but Kali couldn't influence as much because Maharaj Parikshit was still there as the king. We all know the story about how Maharaj Parikshit was storing his kingdom. When he found that Kali had infiltrated into his kingdom, he was storing the kingdom, and he came across this scene wherein a man who was dressed like a king, obviously he was a low-class man, but he was dressed like a king, and he was beating the bull and the cow. And Maharaj Parikshit was so shocked and aghast at this particular scene that he took his sword and was ready to sever the head of this particular person, this low-class person, who was none other than Kali personified. Now, Kali was intelligent enough to realize that Maharaj Parikshit wouldn't let him survive. And so his wise route was to actually surrender to Maharaj Parikshit. And when Maharaj Parikshit surrendered onto him, Maharaj Parikshit spared his life, but he warned him that you cannot spread your influence in my kingdom as long as I'm alive. Then, as we know the story of how Kali, he said, okay, then give me some place to live. I can't, you have given me the boon of life by not killing me, so give me a residence where I can live. And then Maharaj Parikshit gave the 4 places where he could live, where the 4 principles were broken. And then, but Kali looked around all through the kingdom. He said, there is not much place here because these regulative principles are not being broken. And so Kali actually, Maharaj Parikshit said, yes, there's a 5th place where you can stay, where people are hoarding gold. So from that time, Kali has spread, and we are at this stage right now where 5,000 years have passed in Kali Yuga. Now one might question, why didn't Maharaj Parikshit kill Kali right then on the spot and saved us all this trouble? Otherwise, today we can see the influence of Kali, but we'll get to the golden and the silver linings a little later. But why didn't he kill Kali? Why didn't Maharaj Parikshit kill Kali Yuga on the spot so that he could have saved us all this trouble? Why did he let him live? So Maharaj Parikshit, please understand, was not envious of Kali, because kings in those days, they were the supreme rulers. They had no reason to envy. which is again a whole different topic about democracy and how, see, you are the king of the world, you are not challenged, you have no elections to fight in 4 years, you don't have to worry about forming alliances and where the money is going to come from fight elections. So if in that state of mind you are completely impartial, you don't mind, because all you are doing is executing your duties. And Kali and Maharaj Parikshit was not envious of anybody, nor was he expecting any donations from Kali so that he can fight elections in future. So the idea was that Maharaj Parikshit was not envious, but he didn't kill Kali because he saw some positive aspects of Kali Yuga. We'll get into those positive aspects. The positive aspects of Kali Yuga Maharaj Parikshit saw was that in this age, Srila Prabhupada writes that merely by thinking of a crime, you don't get the results of doing that crime, unless you actually execute that particular sinful activity. In Satya Yuga and in other ages, merely by thinking of a sinful activity, you would get the result, or you would accrue the reactions for that. So Kali Yuga, Srila Prabhupada writes, at least in Kali Yuga, unless you execute that activity, you will not. But having said that, by constantly thinking, one will kind of execute. So better not kind of experiment with fire on that department. The second thing which the acharyas explain is that the beauty of Kali is that of all the faults that exist in Kali Yuga, by chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, one gets all the benefit and the spiritual perfection of the previous ages. Now, otherwise, apart from these two silver linings, there is a golden lining which will come a little later. But otherwise, in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is even more extensive description of the degradation that occurs as Kali Yuga progresses. And it is said, because Kali Yuga is about 432,000 years, out of which we have passed just 5,000 years. So there is about 427,000 years of Kali Yuga, more or less, give few years here and there, still remaining. And as Kali Yuga progresses, the degradation is even faster, it's more painful, it's more intolerable for the human beings. It is said in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that in Kali Yuga there will be famine, there will be droughts, people will be in severe anxiety. The rulers, actually they will become the plunderers. You can see that happening already, but it becomes even more severe when the rulers try to rob the people in the name of taxes. And people are so fed up with living in the towns that they run to forests and seek shelter in forests. It is said that man and women, they just are together just based on their physical intimacy, that's all. That is the sole criteria for being together or for getting married. And it is said, and Akrurnath Prabhu will readily attest to this fact, that those who have money, they'll get justice. Even if you are committed the worst crime, if you can get a lawyer, a high-powered lawyer, and pay him tons and tons of money, there is a high chance you will be acquitted. But a person who's innocent, and if he doesn't get the best of the lawyers which the government provides, there is a high chance he will lose. So in Kali Yuga, the justice is given to those people who have money. And those who are very audacious and shameless and are brazen about something, then whatever words they say, that's accepted as truth. Irrespective of whether that person has said right or not, is it connection to Sadhu, Shastra, there is no correlation, that's all. Somebody comes in and brazenly puts his foot down or her foot down and says, this is mine, and then people will just run away. And that's happening. In so many places, even in Kali Yuga, there is extortion. People go around extorting, that's all. Then the other thing is that, the other thing which is pretty common, because Srimad Bhagavatam has given predictions 5,000 years ago, some of them are coming to fruition, and some of them will come to fruition a little later. The other prediction of Kali Yuga in Srimad Bhagavatam is that if you have money, then you are considered to be a man of fine character and of high birth and have all the respect in society. It doesn't matter what you did to get that money. You could have cheated, you could have stolen from somebody, either legally or illegally, or you could have just usurped somebody's property. It doesn't matter. As long as you have a money and the show of it, people will respect you. And it is truth. When, for example, the CEOs of biggest companies in US, they go to, for example, other countries like India or Russia or Vietnam, all the kings and the ministers bow down to them as if they are like some great people. All the ministers, they line up to greet that particular person. Why? Because they have money. It doesn't matter what they did in US to earn that money. But Kali Yuga, it is just like that. It's an age where things are very topsy-turvy. The morality, the ethics, the integrity, those things take a backseat. It's just how so-called powerful you are, how so-called rich you are, how well connected you are, that all matters. That's the only thing that matters in the age of Kali. And so there are so many other predictions that come about, and that practically any discussions about God and any topics will be completely gone. And people who are supposed to be priests, they are just controlled by the people who have wealth. In essence, the wealth is like the dominating factor in age of Kali. And we see that to a lot that's still happening, but it will still be more progressively degrading. So, all this background is not meant to dishearten or discourage, because as it is said, there are some golden linings which we will discuss in the age of Kali. But how do we live in this Kali Yuga with so much of, you can say, discouraging factors, so much of struggle just for existence? You just have to struggle hard just to maintain a status quo. You don't forget about prospering and forget about being somebody, because already when you try to be somebody in the age of Kali Yuga, there are 10 people who are ready to pull you down. It's just a fact of life. And there is constant dissension. The family life is not peaceful. And that is attested readily to the fact that ask any person, how is your family life? He'll be like, if he is truthful, he's like, it's okay. If he's more honest, they'll readily go at the fact how the family life is kind of, it's not harmonious, it's not peaceful. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that when he goes to his home, he sees Golok Vrindavan. I don't know what people see when they go back homes, but in any case, I don't think it's Golok Vrindavan, at least most of the times. It's just a fact of life. I mean, it's nobody's fault. Please don't think that that it's somebody's fault. I have to rectify. Partially so, maybe. Maybe there are some aspects of the family life that can be rectified by either changing yourself or the family members, mainly yourself, then trying to change the family members. But the nature of Kali is like that. The children are more, dismissive of their parents. They don't listen so much to their parents. And it is said in Bhagavatam that just a man to maintain his living, he has to travel long distance just to earn his livelihood. Is that right? People have to, people from India come all the way to Silicon Valley to get some projects, or we have to drive 50 miles from Los Gatos to Mill Valley up north and just to make a living. Or people have to travel on business or so many other needs, just so that the living involves a lot of traveling, and which in of itself is stressful. So when we understand these truths of Kali, then we are more at peace with ourselves, because we realize that we are not the controllers. Because partially the frustration stems from the fact that I am supposed to be the controller and make things right, but there is a very powerful influence of Kali that exists and that permeates in this world, which makes your vision of ideal family, ideal vacation, ideal job, everything, not so ideal. So how do we live? What is the solution that we can live harmoniously with the age of Kali? The best way is to have a firm conviction in path of devotional service. That is the starting point. If our own sadhana is strong, then Kali wouldn't disturb. And it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that those who have taken shelter of Krishna, nothing can disturb them. No serious problems, no Kali. They are sheltered from the influence of Kali Yuga. So, the method, because please understand, in the previous ages, in Satya Yuga, for example, the average lifespan was 100,000 years. So when we hear the stories that the sages went off and did some 20,000 years of meditation, it's just 1/5 of their life. It's like you going to, for example, a child goes to college. By the time the child graduates from the college, he or she is what, 20, 25, 23, 24. So it's about 1/5 of their life gone, according to Kali Yuga. So that was the same thing in previous ages. And everything was so pure, uncontaminated. People were, their consciousness was not polluted, so that they could relate with each other in a way which is not offending, in a very harmonious way. And of course, the path of spiritual perfection was equally intense, because you had to meditate for a long time and you had to control your senses. So at least meditation was the method for achieving spiritual perfection. Now one might question, Satya Yuga guys had it easy because they had everything lined up nicely. Their health was good. They didn't have to worry about health insurances and emails and stuff like that. And here we are being harassed by iPhones and emails and faxes. Faxes are also gone, but so many things. But Krishna gives compensation. Krishna gives he gives a dispensation, timely dispensation in Kali, that he says, just by chanting my holy names, you get all the benefit from the previous ages. So the best benediction for this age is to chant the names of Krishna. And that is a definite and a happy way to counteract the age of Kali. The other aspect is, we as devotees shouldn't worry too much about things which we cannot get. Please understand, in Kali Yuga, for everything so-called desirable, there is intense competition. Does anybody disagree with that? If you have a house in a desirable locations, 20 people make offers on that house or more. If there is a spot in the corporate world to be had, the people would take out their knives, literally. Not literally. At least at this point it's not literal. It's just figurative. They take out their knives and, in the sense, like, try to jump over others to get to that spot. If there are few seats in a prestigious college, there will be thousands of applicants. So the nature of Kali is competitive. And so the devotee, understanding these principles, we cannot be neglectful, but at the same time you don't over-endeavor too much for things in life. That way, your anxieties will come down less. If Krishna wants, you will get it. Try for it. If you have that aspiration and you try for it, but do not be disappointed if you don't get it, because it's just not, in Krishna's plan, at least to think that way. Otherwise, there will be too much of anxiety, because that competition consumes too much of mental energy. What do I do to overcome that competition? I should do this, I should do that. So the mind is so absorbed in trying to get that thing that it's very easily possible to forget Krishna. So we make peace with the fact that whatever is easily available to a devotee, we endeavor, but not over-endeavor. We have to endeavor. There is no doubt about it. It doesn't mean Kali Yuga gives a free rein. Okay, everything is Krishna done by Krishna. I like, let's take a step back and relax and let Krishna do it. No, because Krishna, he said, Krishna, the beauty in Bhagavad Gita is, he showed his universal form to Arjuna, and in the universal form, Arjuna saw that all his enemies are killed. Just imagine if you have to apply for a corporate job, and you have this crystal ball vision, wherein you say that all the enemies are somehow all your competitors are somehow sidelined, and you get the job. Will you work? Anyway, I know the end result, so I'll relax. Krishna showed the universal form to Arjuna, and he said, all your enemies will be killed. But he said to Arjuna, you still have to fight. Not that your enemies are killed, now you can, relax back and kind of take a hike through the forest nearby Kurukshetra, and you can come back later. All the work will be done for you. Arjuna still had to fight. All the 18 days he fought. He fought with intensity. He fought with double the intensity. So the point is, we never give up our endeavors, but we don't over-endeavor, thinking that I am somehow the controller of the fruit of my efforts. When one thinks in that fashion, then one's emotional happiness or distress is tied with the fruits rather than the effort. And fruits in the age of Kali, they are very fickle, trust me. It's not that easy. Because there are forces at play which kind of, get, not get, don't worry about it. If Krishna wants, you will get it. But try. Try your best. That's how the attitude of the devotee should be. And that will solve many problems. Because ultimately, at the end of life, if we have this basic knowledge that we are the spirit souls, why worry? How much difference does it make when I am being buried, whether I got a position in this company or a seat in that college or got that finest car? Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. In the end, you're not going to take any of that with you. That firm spiritual foundation combined with the desire that one should one chants the names of Krishna and be satisfied with what you get out of your effort. Those three things kind of really help one to be at peace with the age of Kali. Don't get into competition, because the competition is not... While you get into competition, you don't control the fruits. If you have to get into competition, get into it, but don't control the fruits. They are not yours. Krishna already said in Bhagavad Gita that those fruits are neither mine, neither yours, neither you think that you are going to create the fruits of your activities. So having that sort of attitude, one kind of makes peace with Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga can be your friend or your enemy based on how you look at it. But you make peace. You had a question?
I was just admiring the comparison, like Kali Yuga can be your friend as an enemy. It just dawned upon me now.
Right.
I'd never looked at it that way.
Right.
Because it offers, like in a short period of time, we can get so much. Yeah.
So, and easily, in a sublime way.
Easily,
Yeah.
I was also thinking about the missive that Guru Maharaj wrote today, which is exactly along the lines of what you're saying. He said that take care of your material necessities, but do not worry about them.
Wow, amazing.
And then he quoted Prahlad Maharaj from Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj continued, "My dear friends, born of demonic families, the happiness perceived with reference to the sense objects by contact with the body can be obtained in any form of life, according to one's past fruitive activities. Such happiness is automatically obtained without endeavor, just as we obtain distress."
Wonderful. Nice. Yes, Akranath Prabhu. Please chime in anytime you want and add your comments. That will be very valuable.
Two things. Just that last verse reminds me also of Narada Muni's instruction, tasyaiva heto prayateta kovita, that we should spend our energy for self-realization, for understanding Krishna, that which can't be obtained anywhere in the universe by wandering from the highest to the lowest planet. And as far as material happiness is concerned, we're going to get it anyway. It's our destiny, whatever we're entitled to and whatever we're... Distress also, he says, distress comes even though no one wants it. And similarly, your happiness will come. Nobody's trying to get distress, but it comes. So similarly, no one has to try to get happiness. But this also reminds me, when you were talking about how Krishna showed Arjuna, all your enemies are killed, but nevertheless he told Arjuna, you have to fight and get the glory. He wanted Arjuna to get credit also for...
Nice.
So what is our duty in Kali Yuga? What do we have to do? We have to reestablish the principles of religion. That's Lord Chaitanya's purpose. When the Lord comes, he wants to protect the devotees, but he wants to reestablish Dharma, and particularly this Sankirtan movement. And it's up to us to, even though it's going to happen anyway, whether we do it or not. But if we won't do it, we won't be participating in it, And if we take it on very seriously, that's what our duty is. Krishna wants us to do that and to get the credit for having done that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Akranath Prabhu.
So, in chapter 9, verse 7 of the Bhagavad Gita, I think Krishna informs Arjuna that he is going to project ages after ages this cycle of Satyuga and coming down to Kalyuga and coming back into. So it appears like it's a pre-programmed event.
Right.
And we are just going to be assigned roles and just play our part. And then knowing that we just stay emotionally distress-free, knowing that we are just part of that Leela. Now, are we playing the roles of the Suras or the Asuras? That's where we line up.
Wonderful.
Because then we say, okay, I'm a Sura because now I have the blessings of the Lord. Because of that, I'm living in harmony, and that allows me to be in peace.
Nice.
If I go on that other side is the Asura zone, and I know that I may get materialistic possessions, but I'll be in disharmony and I'll be in distress. So whether I'm going to have materialistic that and distressed, or it doesn't matter what material, but at peace, that's my choice. But one question I had, and I'd like you to, because in this Asura discussion, and it's almost like Matrix, it's we're just playing it out. Sometimes we are in a dilemma in the sense that, okay, I have to fight this injustice, unethical, immoral behavior. It's affecting me tremendously, not just emotionally, but in my life. Somebody is doing injustice to me, my family. And then, yet, we want to go in that bhakti mode and want to be compassionate and forgive and all that. Sometimes it's a big dilemma, and sometimes these are relatives in your life, sometimes these are professional colleagues. So where do you draw the line? How do you play it out in your mind? You fight, and yet you at what point you become so compassionate that you just let them be? Could you elaborate, please?
Thank you. It's a very perceptive question. The couple of ways to look at those. The first thing is that one primal principle is that if our spiritual life is being hampered, or if somebody is wantedly blocking us from pursuing our spiritual life, either through emotional words or really physically trying to obstruct us or discouraging us, then there is absolutely no question of taking it down lying. We have to fight for our spiritual life, because part of that is that your own family members sometime may kind of discourage you from going to temple. Part of that could be that your co-workers or somebody has ridiculing you for going to a temple or having such faith. So in that case, when we don't stand up to what our spiritual life is, there is every chance that we may succumb to those particular things. And there is anger that is involved, but that anger should be directed to the blasphemy of the Lord and His devotees. So that's the best way to channel the anger. It's a bona fide way, it's a legitimate way, go for it. Don't stop, don't hold back. The hold back in the sense like your manifestation of anger is appropriate in those particular times and events. The other, in the material aspect, it honestly depends on one's levels of tolerance or one's levels of the situation. There is no right or wrong answer, but if somebody is trying to cheat you out of your house, this could be, and Akrunnath Prabhu readily attests, there are cases like that. Sometimes I heard the story that that there was this 91-year-old man who was living in the same house, same farm for 56 years or so, and he gave his daughter the power of attorney, and she converted that house to her name, or she made the house on her name and trying to evict his own father out. There are cases like that in Kali Yuga. So in those cases, there is no question of not fighting back. Do the best of your effort and have faith in Krishna, but you have to fight. But in small things, probably it's okay. You let it go. Don't worry about too much about the minor things. So again, where do you draw the line? Because that house which somebody is trying to cheat you out is a temple for the Lord, and you are going to fight on behalf of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada did that in Bombay project. People were saying, why are you getting into this mess? This is a legal battle, it's a long-drawn battle. Just give him his money, walk out, we have other places. But Srila Prabhupada promised to Radha Ras Bihari, saying that, you know what, this is your temple, you are going to stay here. And then he fought. He fought like anything. He had to put in so much of his energy. So while he is the perfect acharya who would excuse and tolerate and be compassionate to everybody, but when it came to certain things, he was ferocious and he would fight. So there is no black and white answer, there is no right or wrong. It's just we pray to Krishna for intelligence, to give us intelligence, to see where we should fight and where we should hold back. More often than not, that's one way of looking at things. And the second thing is, Bhagavatam advises us that if you are on the Madhyama Adhikari or even aspiring devotee, if the person is envious of you and he's critical and he's prejudiced or she's prejudiced, then you ignore him. Don't fight with them, but just ignore them. If there is somebody junior to you, be compassionate. If somebody is senior to you, be happy. So there are few framework of principles in Bhagavatam by which one can apply one's intelligence. And this is where I beg the audience that, if you can get some time, please read Srila Prabhupada's books. There are instructions there so clearly mentioned about what to do in most of the circumstances. There are always circumstances which could be not quote-unquote textbook. So there is your spiritual master, there are senior devotees whom you can approach to for guidance, to ask them how to resolve those things. So, I'm sorry the answer I'm giving you is slightly vague, because there is no like a definitive answer one way or other. I'm just giving you some fundamental principles on which your response can be based on. And that will be proper because that's based on Shastras. Does that a little bit help?
No, that was very nice. Thank you. I know the duality of our existence is, both material and soul, and that's why we have to both. I guess one other quick comment, if you could give. One other thing I realize is our bhakti bhav makes us very humble, very trusting. Then you go out into the world, and I think those are the very qualities that are taken advantage of by those who don't believe in that kind of existence. So a lot of times I think we become a setup also for being inappropriately taken away, of losing our possessions or losing, say, authorship. And you work 3 years on this, and then the first author, you suddenly jumped from where you belong to midway, because you know how that happens. So it's kind of a difficult and challenging existence, but I think God just uses us to make us spiritually stronger and stronger, so that we can ignore these things or fight it if needed.
Nice point. Akurnath Prabhu had a comment on that, and I would just go after that.
There's a story, maybe you've heard of Narada Muni, and he had a disciple that was a cobra. And Narada Muni, he has disciples from all over, hunter, different kinds of disciples. And Prahlad Maharaj from the Daitya family, different disciples. And he had one disciple was a cobra. So the cobra was very, very unhappy. He came to his guru, Narada Muni, and he said, I'm so unhappy. Narada Muni said, why are you so unhappy? He said, because before I became a devotee, people used to be very afraid of me. And so I was able to move around in the world without much trouble. But now that I've become a devotee, you taught me to be humble and nonviolent, and so everyone knows I won't hurt them. So they throw rocks at me, they're always chasing me, I can't go, I can't show my face anywhere, and I'm very morose. So Narada Muni said, I told you not to bite people, but I didn't tell you not to show your hood. If you act like you're going to bite people, they won't know that you're a humble devotee. And then they'll respect you anyway, even though inside you remain a devotee.
So does that answer your question? Yeah. So being a devotee doesn't mean that we let people walk all over us. That is just not written in Shastras anywhere, unless you have reached that level of advancement. And how do you know if you have reached that level of advancement? You are automatically satisfied even, quote unquote, people are walking over you. You don't mind, you don't care. Because you are, for example, the story of Jadabharat is there, that he was at that level of advancement where he wouldn't mind whether people would give him stale food, whether people would cheat him, because he was blissfully absorbed in the spiritual realization of Krishna. So we have, that's another aspect which I wanted to tell, is that based on our level of advancement, we should act. And we cannot imitate like Jadabharat, because you'll be frustrated. Jadabharat was blissful. Here was, I don't know the story, all of you know the story, but Jadabharat was an exalted soul, and he was completely self-realized. He had no identification with his body, as long and completely absorbed in spiritual bliss. And whatever he got, whether it was fame or infamy, whether he got good food, stale food, little food, no food, he was happy, he was satisfied. Till the point that there was a leader of dacoits that wanted a human for a sacrifice. And because that leader of dacoit apparently wanted a son. It's ironical that you sacrifice a human being to get another human, but that's a different story. So the point is that they found Jadabharat. They said, okay, this person is perfect for making an offering to Goddess Kali. And they bathed him, they dressed him, they fed him, and they put on new clothes, and they took him in front of the altar of Goddess Kali, and they were all ready with their choppers in their hand, ready to sever the head of Jadabharat. Now, isn't that the worst kind of people walking over you? But he was not disturbed. So, on the level of advancement we should act. We cannot imitate the people who are above us, but at the same time, you cannot be petty over small things either. Like the small children, you should be appropriate to what advancement we are in. If somebody is trying to steal your authorship at that level, you should fight back. If somebody is trying to cheat you out of your house, you have to fight back. Or somebody, your wealth or property, you should fight. Maybe that fight may be successful or may not be successful, but the whole point is that you have not let people use you. Otherwise, this is the danger. Why you don't fight back? The danger is that you think, yeah, okay, that person cheated me, I'm a devotee, I shouldn't do. And then the other person, because people will know your nature, they'll take undue advantage. This is the nature of the world. And what happens is, first time you'll subtly blame yourself, it's okay, I'm a devotee. Then slowly you start blaming Krishna. Why is Krishna making this happen to me? Krishna never said not to fight. Why is he making me do this? Why is he kind of giving me all these troubles? Maybe there is no God, he doesn't help me, and you'll fall down if you don't fight back. In the long run, you'll lose your faith in devotion. You'll think that, this is all bogus, so much of pain, because you're not acting upon your appropriate level.
Lord Krishna says that if you're not going to fight, then you're going to incur sin.
Right.
He tells Arjuna.
Right. That is specific.
If it's a just war, then you have to fight.
Right.
Not run away from it because you don't want to.
Right. So based on our own spiritual advancement and based on situation, we have to appropriately fight or not fight. So there is absolutely nowhere in Shastra that says that you don't fight. As Akranath Prabhu said, even Narada advised, Narada is now, he's not like a Senko at ISV. He's a very exalted personality. And he's a Trikalagna. He knows the past, he knows the present, he knows the future, he knows the heart of everybody. So when he says something, that's pretty substantial advice.
I think keeping the satsanga, that way at least you're surrounded by people who are not going to do that to you.
Right.
The rest of the world, as you come back and get a healing here.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And on that point, we'll just continue with the class further. You had a question?
I've got a question, yes.
Okay.
If you want to, I can ask later. No problem.
Okay. Let me complete the class, the last part of the class, because we were talking of Kali, let's talk a little bit about this specific Kali, and then the highest good fortune that we have, and then we can open up for questions. Is that okay? All right. So we discussed about the Kali and the silver linings of Kali, which is that Kaler dosha nide raja nastihi eko mahan guna. That this Kali Yuga, though it's an ocean of fault, there is that beautiful silver lining that just by chanting the holy names of Krishna, that one gets deliverance from this age of Kali. But what about this specific Kali? The Kali we are living in. And this Kali is having golden lining because in the form of the golden avatar Mahaprabhu. Now, we know that Kali Yuga comes after Dwapar Yuga. And then preceding Dwapar Yuga is Treta. Before that is Satya Yuga. So, how many such cycles happen in one day of Brahma? It said, Shastra say about 1,000. So, it's divided into 14 manus. Each manu has about 71 or so cycles under his or her, under his control. And then this specific manu which we are in is Vaivasvata manu. And in the Vaivasvata manu, on the 28th cycle of Vaivasvata manu, Lord Krishna comes in Dwapar Yuga. Please understand that Lord comes in every yuga, but only once in day of Brahma, Lord comes as Lord Krishna. That's it. And then once the Lord has appeared in his absolute form as Krishna, who carries all the potencies, then he'll come only tomorrow for the day of Brahma. Now specifically in Brahma's day, we are in the noon. We are approaching noon. That's what it is said. Right now, in our Kali Yuga, we are here sitting today. This is Brahma's noon, almost approaching noon for his entire span. So to understand, to put it in perspective, Krishna is not going to appear for a long time as self-same Lord. He will come as many incarnations because there are Yuga avatars, Manvantara avatars. Krishna will come in many forms to deliver, but in his original form as Krishna, he won't come back for a long time. Now, immediately after Krishna's appearance, Mahaprabhu or Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes in that Kali Yuga. And this is that Kali Yuga wherein Mahaprabhu appeared just 500 years ago to deliver the most highest sublime form of love of Godhead. In the previous Kali Yugas, Krishna would come, he would say, chant the holy names of Krishna and you'll be delivered, and that was his message in his avatar. But in this specific Kali Yuga, Sri Mahaprabhu comes to deliver the highest, the most inaccessible, and that's something which is supremely hidden, love of Godhead to everybody. Chirada dattam nijagupta vittam swaprema nama mritamatyudara apamaram yo vitatara gora krishno janebhyastamaham prapadye. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chirad adattam, for a long time it has not been given. What has not been given? Nija gupta vittam. It is his own very personal. Gupta is hidden, vittam means treasure. What is that treasure? Swaprema nama. That nama which is quoted with prema is given by Mahaprabhu in this age of Kali Yuga. Shaidvare achandale kirtana sanchare nama prema mala ganti parailo sabare. It is said in Chaitanya Charitamrita that Mahaprabhu came, he wove a wreath. I had to look up what is wreath. Akrinath Prabhu, correct me if I am wrong. Wreath is a specific pattern woven with flowers and leaves, right? It's a round thing. Right? It's a wreath which is not just like a garland.
It's a circle. Yeah, it's usually bigger and more solid than a garland. It stays a circle.
Right. And usually it's composed of leaves and flowers together, which in a very artistic way it is designed. So Mahaprabhu wove a wreath. Srila Prabhupada used the word wreath. That is name, that is nama and prema have been like woven into a wreath, and Mahaprabhu threw it onto the world. So that by this process of chanting, we just not get deliverance. Bhagavatam promises deliverance, and deliverance is easy to obtain when you chant the holy names of Krishna. There are 3 stages of chanting, which is the offensive chanting, I don't know the English. Clearing stage, thank you. Clearing stage and the pure stage. Just in the clearing stage, you get liberation. You don't have to worry about pure stage to get liberation. Because Ajamil's chanting was just in the clearing stage. It was not like pure chanting, but still he got liberation. So name is so powerful that even by the mere clearing stage, you get liberation. That is so powerful with the name. But Mahaprabhu's scheme was even bigger, that he would give his own Premanam, which is name imbued with love of Godhead, that who can chant offenselessly the names of the Lord can get Prema, which is completely unobtainable in any age. In any age. Because only unless Mahaprabhu comes and gives, you cannot know what is Prema, what is love, what is Rasa, how Krishna is submitted to the rasa of his devotee, and what sort of joy does the devotee get, what sort of joy does Krishna get, and how the internal potency acts in such a wonderful way to have that dynamics of love is completely obscured in any part of Vedas. No matter how many austerities one performs or charities one performs or how much of scriptures one reads, you can never get prema unless Mahaprabhu gives that mercy. So this Kali Yuga is super fortunate because Mahaprabhu's appearance and his freely distributing the prema. So we are in that sense very fortunate. Even though we are in Kali Yuga, the most degraded of ages, we are in the most fortunate of ages because of Mahaprabhu. And as Akurunath Prabhu said, it's up to us to be a part in whatever part we can be. It can be the part of so-called lower activities or the part of so-called higher activities. But Mahaprabhu's activities encompass all these activities, and everybody is an equal recipient of that prema which Mahaprabhu is going to give. By chanting these holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And doing our best to participate in Sankirtan movement in one way or other. At ISB, our focus is on distributing books, distributing knowledge, distributing the holy names, maintaining this temple which facilitates all those activities. So there are many forms of activities which one can participate and be an instrument of Mahaprabhu's mercy, or be an instrument in Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement and be a recipient of his mercy. His mercy is guaranteed. He's not looking for who knows the most verses, who knows the most shastras, or who's most popular. No, even when he was cleaning the temple, there was a woman called Dukhi who was just getting the pots. It was insignificant. She was not even washing the temple. She was just getting the pots and placing it in the line so that devotees can get easy access to the water pots. And Mahaprabhu called out for her and gave her his blessings. So please participate in whatever form, shape, fashion you can, and be the recipient of Mahaprabhu's mercy, because this Kali Yuga is especially fortunate. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and please forgive me for any inconsistencies, offenses, or other things. And please limit those rooms for feedback only on words, because I don't have any protective gear for baseball bats and tomatoes and stuff like that, stones especially. Thank you very much. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Prema Avatar Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Radha Madan Mohan ji ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Questions? Yes.
Srivasa Pandit Prabhu ki.
Gaura Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Prabhupada disciples ki jai. All the other disciples ki jai, yes. Non-disciples ki jai, yes. Yes, yeah, go ahead, Narendra ji.
When she asked a question, one point came to my mind is, who is my relative? I go and choose a girl and marry her. Is she my relative? Becomes wife. Suddenly I was not knowing her. Anytime she never knew me, and she became I accepted her as my wife. This is my wife. My brother who want to deceive me. Is my brother. My question is, our relationship, where is the relationship in this world? I don't see any relationship. I see one relationship, yes. Somebody comes to me and he's kind of Sharnagat. He's feeling, my mother becomes old, let us say, and she expects her sons to do something for her. Yes, that relationship is there. That because she's Sharnagat of her son, so son should take care of her mother. That relationship I can see little bit. And that also depends upon her destiny. There also it depends upon her destiny. So where is the relationship? And I don't know why should I too much worry about my son or brother or wife who are actually they don't act according to the relationship also. And these are just, I come here, I accept some kind of relationship. I just did kind of a mental makeup of my thing. This is my relative. The relation is only who lives inside me. That's a big relationship. Who is always with me. There is no relationship actually exist. And if we worry too much about our relatives, I don't know why. Why should I? I don't.
So, can you walk away from your wife? Just walk away one day. Give up everything.
As I told you, a Sharnagat. If she's feeling desperate and she's under me, then it becomes a difficult thing to walk away. Divorces happen all the time.
Right.
They have no value because neither wife cares about husband doesn't care about him. Walking away from wife is...
No, my point I'm trying to make is that you say that discounting relationships in this world, while there is an internal understanding and an external obligation for relationships. While our internal understanding is that we have come together in this life, as you so rightly mentioned, before your marriage you didn't know who your wife was, and she survived, she lived before getting married to you, and she will live after you're not there. That's not the point here. The point here is that by destiny one comes together as a family, as relatives. So while internally one doesn't maintain attachment, one cannot be neglectful of the external obligations either. For example, your son or daughter, not I'm specifically pointing, but anybody, your son or a daughter, she goes to college and starts living a life of their own. Does that mean that in one sense your obligation is not there, but they are not Sharanagat to you? Does that mean you completely break away your ties? Because, no, let me complete. So the point here is there is still an obligation, an ongoing obligation, though the work for them may be reduced. Unless one really takes to sannyas and renounces all the family, it's a very clear stage wherein I walk away from my family and the obligations after I am done. Till that stage, both internal and external, mind you, not just external. Till that stage when one is completely renounced and absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, one has obligations. And please understand, Arjuna, he never had to have any obligations because he was a pure devotee of Krishna. He was a realized soul and eternal associate of the Lord. Yet on the battlefield, he did point out all these obligations. He said, how can I kill my guru? How can I kill my own relatives? Because there was a sense of compassion and there was a sense of duty, because you cannot kill your guru. That according to Shastras, it is clear that even if your superiors offer you a fight, you are not supposed to offer a fight. So that reasons used by Arjuna were not just based on emotional bodily attachments, but scriptural injunctions which define some obligations towards your dependents and towards your family members, towards your forefathers. There are so many obligations. So one cannot simply discount that saying I am a devotee and I don't care about them. But at the same time, one cannot be blindly attached on a bodily platform either. Shastras say both. So so they say both. And as long as you have a body, you are obligated. You are obligated to demigods. You are obligated to your teachers. You are obligated to sages. You are obligated to the king. You are obligated to your forefathers. There are so many obligations. And as long as you rotate in this world, those obligations will remain till the point one is completely surrendered to Krishna. Till that point, there is no way you can say, I don't want it. No, you cannot do that. You cannot simply say, I live in the house, but I won't pay electricity. I don't want to pay electricity. Okay, you'll be cut off. There are ramifications. You just can't be whimsical about the fact that I can choose to discount my relationships whenever I want, just having this idea that God is there with me. That's it. Bas. Ho gaya. No. Even though we have God. Arjuna had God right next to him, but yet he thought of obligations. Though, of course, it is not that Krishna corrected that, but that doesn't mean that you just go. That's my point I'm trying to make. There is an internal realization and an external obligation. We have to do both, at least in the conditioned state. When one is completely realized, when completely absorbed, yasyatma ratireva syat atma triptascha manava. Krishna says, till one comes to the point where one is completely satiated in self, whose joy is only in self, that man has no duties. It's there in Bhagavad Gita. Till that point, Krishna says, do your duties. It's not whimsical. You can't decide on your own when you want or when you don't want. Make sense? Yes. Actually, Akranath Prabhu had a point to make, and Mataji, after that it's yours. I'm sorry, you've been asking. Okay.
Just also in that same third chapter, then Krishna also points out that even someone who is liberated and doesn't have any duties, he shouldn't set a bad example for others and preach to them that, oh, who is your mother, who is your father, you're only related to God and everything. He should show them, engage them in works of devotion appropriate to their position. So by his own example, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, even though Krishna told Arjuna, Sarva dharman parityaja mamekang sharanang vraja, still he never told Arjuna, abandon the household life, go live in the forest. In fact, he told him to, support, remain as a warrior and supporting his brother, his kingdom, and so forth. So
wonderful, nice point. Yeah, and then back to Narendra ji.
This may be mute, but I'm reminded of a quote by Confucius. He says, a superior man knows righteousness, an inferior man knows advantage. So I think Krishna purposely put people with a soul connection and other with the mind connection together so that one can teach the other. Unfortunately, what's happening, the people who are righteous are becoming advantage seeking because the influence is just so strong. And some of us at least have to kind of stay strong through this. But I think even Krishna, when he's knowing that this is going to be a challenge and there's going to be a time in our life when we're so frustrated, maybe he gives us a way out, I feel. And you please comment on this, He gives us the four stages. I'm putting you in a Grastha ashram. You're a pure devotee. I'm putting you in a Grastha ashram. But guess what? There are 4 stages. Okay? You start with Brahmacharya. You do your Grastha. In Vanprastha, you start detaching a little. In Sannyas, go have your fun by yourself, You don't, the spouse is different because under the God's blessings, you have vowed to take care of until death do you apart. So that becomes a different situation. But if you need to detach for the purposes of this righteousness and wrongness and all that stuff, you are in a situation where sannyas is okay after a certain age, right? The 4 stages of your 25 years each. I'm wondering what you think about that. That's just my just thought about it.
Well, one thing I can definitely comment is sannyas is no fun. Srila Prabhupada writes, actually it's the most painstaking of the 4 situations because at that time you don't have the youth and strictly a sannyasi is supposed to be just dependent on God. Every day is anxiety in terms of, not anxiety, but every day is an expression of fearlessness on part of sannyasi saying that I'm just dependent on God. Today I may get anything to eat, I may not get anything to eat, I may get a place to... It's a very painstaking situation. No, it is. It is. And especially in this age of Kali where there are so many other obstacles. It's not fun. Just being by yourself, because sannyasi is, anyway, it's a topic for a whole, that you can cover many classes on sannyas. But in summary, it's a very, we can say, very painstaking situation. You have to fight off the temptations and you have to completely be dependent on God. You have to be fearless. And then, given the modern age, your health may not be in the best of the shapes. So there are so many factors that are against you. If sannyas was fun, trust me, nobody who had taken sannyas would kind of go back to Grihastha ashram. But it's a different situation.
My mother is 78. She's in a sannyasi mode in the sense that she visits everybody. She's detached. She will be with her sadhana, bless them, enjoy them. It's not that she's like sitting mantra, but she has such strong faith in God. And आज यहाँ अंजल जहाँ होगा वहाँ मैं पहुँच जाऊँगी. जो खाना भगवान देगा मुझे मैं खा लूँगी. जो करेगा हो जाएगा. भी आप हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस नहीं, कोई ज़रूरत नहीं, सब कुछ ठीक. She is just so firm in her belief, completely detached.
Very nice.
So that's she's living in a household. She visits us. She lives by herself in India. She's so happy that people just go and want to be with her. Everybody who's distressed, like, how is she so happy? Bas, the only thing she says, Bhagwan pe chhod do, Bhagwan pe chhod do. And she keeps reminding us about that.
Very nice.
So she's so happy that I'm looking forward to that stage. So she's in, it's not that she's not talking to any of us or anything like that. She visits us, blesses her grandkids, everything, gives us wisdom when we ask, even when we don't ask, she gives us wisdom. But it's a beautiful sannyas phase for her.
Thanks to your mother that you are here today.
Yes, absolutely. And my father. Both were big parts.
Listening to the Bhagavatam class. Thanks to your mother. Yes, Narendraji. And after that, Sri Kumar Prabhu. Yes.
Let me clarify some of the points. When I talked about the relationship, I'm talking about the feelings for the relationship and the internal relationship.
Right. I agree.
When I kind of, I have a relationship with my landlord also. I pay, because I have signed a lease, I pay him regularly. So those relationship these are all relationship based on some kind of contract. With my wife, there is a contract. If she doesn't cheat me, she is my wife. If she cheats me, she is no more my wife. Okay? There is a relationship, there is a contract written. It may not be written, sometimes it may be just verbal. And so they can be taken as contract, no problem. But a relationship of Sharnagat, who is looking forward with you, whether you have any relationship with that Sharnagat or you don't have a relationship, but he's looking for you. That's a relationship. You should always take care of your Sharnagat. But rest of the relationship, and in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna wanted Arjuna to leave all relationship internally, not externally. Internally, because he has so much attachment with his Guru, and he was not actually a religious Guru, he was more like a material Guru. And even his grandfather, who was so dear to him, said, there is no relationship. Even grandfather, he has given you love.
Where is it mentioned in Gita that Arjuna doesn't consider his relationship with the grandfather?
Bhishma was his grandfather, isn't it?
Right, but where does Arjuna say that I don't care about my grandfather? You said that
he was very much attached to his grandfather.
Right.
Yeah, he was too much attached to it. And his tears came out of from his eyes is because of that attachment and great relationship which he felt inside all the time. And Lord Krishna was trying to tell him, this the relationship should not be felt internally. Externally, he has to do it. He should do it. There is an internal relationship and external relationship. So I will give you one example which I am right now fighting with myself. I have got 2 sons and a daughter. They are very well educated. And now the situation is such that they don't listen to us anymore. Should I keep on worrying about them? Or they are not listening? My wife is all the time perturbed. But I'm keeping peace, quiet. That is why my destiny is. They don't listen to us. They were not. Actually, there was no relationship. And there is no relationship now also. Unless if I want to feel relationship, I will be perturbed, frankly. I will be so much perturbed that suddenly we educated them, they became doctors, to big doctors, and her daughter is big thing. They don't even care even in the least. I would rather say God has done the right thing so that He has shown us some path, what relationship is.
Which is, see, again, Narendraji, depends on how you look at things. The same thing which you look at, neglect by your children, can be a great impetus to go on the path of God. Right?
That is why I'm thanking God.
There you go. So the point is that it's all good for you. It doesn't matter. If you see that had you been, the relationships kind of fluctuate. Sometimes they are up and down. I don't know the specifics about your relationship with your children. But you can see that you actually realize that the only true shelter is God. So in that painful situation, which I agree, being in a stage where your children may not be listening to you, but now you have found solace in Krishna, who's your true shelter. Right?
That's 100% true, but I was logically thinking it was a contract that there is a duty attached to it. Okay, I did my duty. Now they have their duty. They are not. There is an obligation on their part to do something for us, but they are not doing it. Their destiny is with them. Okay, there is no court here to fight that our contract. And if there was court, I could have fight. So that's it.
Okay, thank you for your statements. Sri Kumar Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for this wonderful class. I have a 2-part question, Prabhuji. First is what, like Akurunath Prabhuji was saying, I want to know the difference between submissiveness and hissing in our general life. And the second part would be, if hissing is there, how would cooperation come about? Because if everybody individually wants to do, if everyone thinks that, yeah, I need to go this way, but irrespective of what anybody cares, but then cooperation is also needed in a society. So these two, if you could address.
Since Akurunath Prabhu brought up the example, I would rather request him to answer and elaborate, and then probably later I can.
So you're saying the hissing like the cobra? Is that what you were saying? Yeah. We have to, as devotees in the Sankirtan movement, we also have to have our relationship based on Sharanagati. That it's one thing that if someone comes to us and takes shelter of us, we have to show them blessings and kindness and guidance. But we also have to, it goes up to Krishna, right? So we have to go through our spiritual authorities. And we can see that Srila Prabhupada had a vision for how to spread the Sankirtan movement all over the world. And we have to make that vision, very deep, take that vision very deep part of our heart and make that our guiding goal. And then it's true that even within this society of devotees, there may be competition, there may be conflicts, and it may not. Bindya was saying, at least we come in the sadhu sangha, and then no one will take advantage. But sometimes even within the association of devotees, some people may be a little blind to, insensitive to what's going on within us and within our service. And
So devotees have these good qualities. If advanced devotees have all the good qualities. In the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about these wonderful qualities that pure devotees have that make them very dear to him. They never put anyone in any difficulty. They never disturb themselves. They're equipoised in happiness and distress. They're tolerant. They're satisfied. They're devoted, engaged with determination in devotional service. They have all these wonderful qualities. And Srila Prabhupada says that we have to actually develop those qualities if we want to really be devotees, if we really want to be recognized as devotees. But we can't try externally. Rather, like what he says in the 2nd chapter when Krishna says, Arjuna asks Krishna, well, the person who's in samadhi, the person who has this fixed intelligence, how does he speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? What is his activities? What are the symptoms by which we can recognize them? And Krishna says, when they've given up the desires that arise from mental concoction and they're satisfied in the self alone, then they're said to be of fixed intelligence. Their intelligence is fixed in pure consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada in that purport, he explains that when we're engaged in devotional service, then those desires for material enjoyment, they subside, and then we can show those good qualities. Prabhupada was very fond of quoting this verse from the 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam that says, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvayar gunais tatra samasate suraha harav abhakteshu kuto mahadgunan manorate nasita tavato bhi. So the idea is that those who are really devotees, they have all the good qualities of the sages and demigods because they don't have these desires of mental concoction. But that those who are not devotees, even if they may have good manners, they can't really have good qualities because they're still on the chariot of the mind that's always proposing, if you have this other situation, then you'll have material happiness, or this other situation. But getting back to the point about how do we deal in devotional service, we have to be sensitive, we have to compromise, we have to become Madhyama Adhikaris. Madhyama Adhikari, at least, Kanishta Adhikari doesn't know how to treat other devotees, doesn't see the internal processes of how someone is engaged in devotional service. They may have great faith in worshiping the deity, they may have great faith in serving the spiritual master, but their understanding, their realization hasn't developed to the point where they're seeing the good qualities of the other devotees and seeing how to interact and properly respect other devotees. But the Madhyama Adhikari, he sees 4 things. He sees Krishna, the worshipful Lord. He sees the devotees, and he makes friends with them. He sees innocent people, and he shows mercy to them. And he sees envious people, inimical to devotional service, and he just avoids them. Makes some excuse not to get too mixed up with them, because that can just cause trouble. So, and among the devotees also, we have to see how we can make progress. When Prabhupada was present and running the Sankirtan movement, I was talking the other night with Vaishasika about this, that of course he's running, but when he was directly, personally, in a physical presence taking control, devotees were arguing, and one thing was that we had these buses that were going around and were distributing books and going to every town and village to distribute books, and they would come into the temples and they would tell the brahmacharis, what are you doing? If you stay in the temple, you'll just end up getting married and having 10 children and getting bogged down, always trying to figure out how to earn a living. But, this is the Sankirtan movement. Come with us. We have a sannyasi on our bus, or 2 sannyasis, and we go around and we distribute books. And then the temple presidents were writing letters to complain to Srila Prabhupada. Every time we make new devotees, they take them away, and we don't have anybody to clean the floor and cook the offering and do anything in our temple. So there are these conflicts. So Vaishasika was saying that we have these 2 kinds of, these are dynamics of any organization, really. It's not just devotional service, but it's how organizations work. We have to have a vertical integration where we know that there's a hierarchy and that we get approval from above us, and then we engage people below us properly. And then we have a horizontal organization where, people are competing for resources, support, and things like that, and we have to compromise on that because we have to recognize that for the good of the whole, loka sangraham, right? That all the different parts of the body have to work, not like for themselves, but to water the root. So we have to see what will please this spiritual master, and not just have vision that only my project is important, and see how the other projects are actually important, or that even if we don't see how it's important, we appreciate that here's another devotee who has a different vision or a different idea, and we should respect that and try to cooperate. So cooperation means that we have to personally, be sensitive and tolerant and wise, but it also means that, we do have to know when to properly assert ourselves and say, but you're not being fair to me. We may be dealing with devotees whose devotional service is not fully mature yet. So we have to establish boundaries even among devotees. I guess that's fact.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grant Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is that me? Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you. Charlene, you had a question?
Can you explain what you meant by the clearing stage of chanting? I didn't realize there were different levels.
So in the initial stages of chanting, one is chanting, but also one is committing many offenses. That shouldn't discourage one from chanting, because as one keeps chanting, then we come to the stage where the offenses are minimized, or they are very minimal, or even in many cases they are reduced. And you will see the next glimpse of the holy name of Krishna.
Krishna gives you those, dharma, karma, bhakti, all those feelings, dhyan. Rama to me brings out pure honesty, righteousness. When this combination was chosen, I don't know how far, I don't know the history of where the mantra of Hare Krishna, Hare Rama was added to this, because we are mainly Krishna bhakts here. And obviously he's avatar, right? A Vishnu avatar and in lineage. But addition of Rama to the mantra, I'm just curious as to,
Well, the Kali Santara Upanishad gave the complete mantra. There was no addition later. That's my understanding. Akrunath Prabhu could correct me if I'm wrong. But the mantra was completely given as one mantra. There was no adding or changing of that.
So, this was how long ago, and where did it originate? Do you have any idea?
The Kali Santara Upanishad actually has... the Upanishads are, of course, part of Vedas, so they have been existing since time immemorial. So it's not like this mantra is something new or something which has been concocted to give some sort of universal medicine or something like that. This mantra existed. It is that Mahaprabhu came and then he brought this mantra on the forefront, saying that this age it is impossible to do other kinds of austerities and the practices which were performed by the yogis in previous ages. He said, this is the best medicine. The example given here is that the doctor, if you go and you talk to him, sometimes they'll prescribe, morning you take this medicine, evening you take some other medicine. Yes? Has that happened sometimes before? The idea is that the doctor knows best based on what time, which medicine is most effective. So Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that mantra existed since time immemorial. He said, for this age, this is the best medicine. Because Vedas and the Upanishads and the storehouse, they have been existing since time immemorial in one form or another. It is just that, and the Vedas come from Supreme Lord. This is from the Kali Santara Upanishad, yes.
Thank you.
Prabhu, anything to add? No. Okay.
Perfect answer.
Okay, thank you. Kali Santarana Upanishad. Thank you. So that's where mantra comes from. It was the whole mantra. It was never altered, or it was never, made new. Thank you. That's why it has effect. Anything which you concoct, the so-called swamis and babas and fakirs, if they're not connected with the proper, genuine, bona fide scriptures, and you can't manufacture your own religion. Just I'll give you a simple example. A person comes to you and says, I'm a doctor. I say, okay. Well, where did you graduate from? Nowhere. I'm just my own doctor. I just self-studied. Then I created all these different formulas, different brand new medicines. You want to try them? What is your reaction? No thanks, I'll pass. Obvious, because nobody can manufacture. There is an authorized medical field which has practitioners and which has a properly instituted setup and which has been proved it's been proved effective, those methods which they did. Nobody comes and tries. So similarly, if a medicine which you take may have some side effects, are like so seriously questioned before you actually take them. If everybody can kind of have that rigorous questioning for any, spiritual or religious way of life, then world would be a lot more freer of, fake swamis and scandalous gurus. Thank you very much. I think we'll stop here, and then Sri Akrunath Prabhu will lead us on the Guru Puja, and then we'll have Prasadam after that. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Shadma. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Shadma. Bando mui sabadana mate. Bando mui sabadana mate. Jahara prasade bhai he bhavatoriyai. Jahara prasade bhai he bhavatoriyai. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoite. Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chitete Koriya Aikya. Guru Mukha Padma Bhakya Chitete Koriya Aikya. Arna kori ho mane asha. Arna kori ho mane asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttama Gati. Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttama Gati. Jai Prashade Pure Sarva Asha. Jai Prashade Pure Sarva Asha. Chakudano dilo je janme janme Prabhu she. Chakudano dilo je janme janme Prabhu she. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. Preme Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate. Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinashayate. Vede Gai Jahara Charito. Vede Gai Jahara Charito. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Ha ha Prabhu Koro Doya Deho More Padachaya. Ha ha Prabhu Koro Doya Deho More Padachaya. Ebe Jash Kushukri Bhuvana. Ebe Jash Kushukri Bhuvana. Ha ha Prabhu Koro Doya Deho More Padachaya. Ha ha Prabhu Koro Doya Deho More Padachaya. Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Duipade Loilo Sharana. Gurudev Patita Pavana. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Jayo Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jayo Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Advaita. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha. Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunatha. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasha Raghunath. Jai Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Pri Raja Kacharya Stotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Pri Raja Kacharya Stotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Holy Name Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtana Ki Jai. ISKCON Silicon Valley Yatra Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross over the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, please be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Jaya Srila Prabhupada. So before we recite the prasadam prayers, are there any announcements? Not that I'm aware of either. We should just...
I would just like to present to you, this is my new book, The
Oh.
New Begins, that I was talking about. It's got a compilation of 5 religions, and our Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in there. So this is my
Oh.
And you have been acknowledged on this page because you're definitely one of the pioneers in, helping me, and Rakshit Prabhuji and Rishishika Prabhuji.
Oh, thank you very much. Very nice. I'll read this with great interest. The New World Begins, Truth Behind Mayan and Other Predictions by Dr. B.H.S. The New World Begins, Truth Behind Mayan, the Mayan civilization from Guatemala and southern Mexico, like that, and Other Predictions by Dr. Singh. So now we'll have prasadam prayers. We don't have I guess we don't have we all have to memorize it. We can put it on the projector. It's very soon it will all be done. There's a lot of different things that are going to be done. I notice this door doesn't close automatically. We should keep it closed because of the sound that travels to the neighbors. On Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day, we were kind of late because dusk didn't come until almost 9 o'clock. So some neighbors were getting disturbed by the sound, everyone in the parking lot. We're going to have gates for the altar and new curtains, and there'll be permanent gates in the 2 side sections so that they'll be open when the deities are not resting. We'll be able to see the deities from the sides also. And the mandala gate on top, that's going to be permanently there. The other gates can be open when we're worshiping, but closed when to protect the deities. Many things are still not done here. There's going to be artwork on the walls, and just many features of the decorations that are still being worked on. We're going to have a new Vyasasana and a new Murti of Srila Prabhupada, a larger Murti. All of it is going to take some more Lakshmi. So although everyone's been very generous already, we still need to sell more tiles. We sold almost, I think, 175 something tiles, but we have 500 to sell total. So we shouldn't stop this fundraising effort of the tiles or any other fundraising. So, Sharira Avidyaja Jodendra, all together. Jodendriya Tahika Jive Pele Bishaya Shagore Dharmajye Jivati Dharmajye Jivati Takejata Kotina Shanshare Krishna baro doyamoy, paribar jiva joy, swaprashad anna dilo bhai. Radha Krishna guna gao, prem me dako Shri Chaitanya nitai, eko dina shanti pure, Prabhu bole bhakta gune. No due Prabhu bhojana bhoshilo. Hey no, shak. Haribo. Hare Krishna, thank you very much for your book. Eko dina shanti pure, Prabhu advaitera ghare, tui Prabhu bhojane boshilo, shakori ashwadana. Krishna. Prabhu bole bhakta gana, Eshak Krishna ashwadilo, Heno shak ashwadane, Krishna prema aishe mane, She preme koro ashwadan, Jara buddhi parihari, Prashad bhojana kori, Hari Hari bolo sarvajan, Hari Hari bolo sarvajan. Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Swalpa Punyavatam Rajan Vishvaso Naiva Jayate Prasade Sarva Dukhanam Hani Rasyopajayate Prasanna Chetaso Hyashu Buddhik Paryavatishtate. Mahaprasadam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Please come take prasadam. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madana Mohan. Jai Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev. Jai Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That was hard. I didn't remember all the words. We need the signs. So used to reading. Actually, I find if we have the signs that we read them every day, we don't memorize it. But if we don't have the signs, it makes us memorize it. Yeah. So that's coming. They're working on it. Many things that still...